Mr. Guštin, maybe you've been cooperating with the Croatian National Institute for Public Health. How is this cooperation? What does it show for, let's say, the quality of water for public health?
Well, I would first like to come back to the awareness maybe and just give a brief comment. Coming from a technology company, as I said, we are focused on data and then how we can use this data and technology, you know, to help people and generally to do something about environment. But today we're talking about water, so let's put the heat and the climate change and everything aside. But the big and of course, whenever you use IT, it's not that you're going to do something actually in the nature to clean the water or something. The only thing that we can do is we can use the data to raise the awareness, to show the status to the people, and then maybe to try and you know, get their or ours to make ourselves more aware of should we drink this water, is our agricultural production really affecting the water that we're drinking, and so on. So from the point of view of public institutions, I think there's a big issue which is actually historical, because when you had both, you know, Ministry of Health and then as well on the other side Ministry of Environment, they've all been building their information system as silos. So you have a lot of information about the environment, you know, the temperature, the quality of air, the quality of water, and so on. And then on the other side, when you have digital health, you have the same thing here in Slovenia, Hrbtenica, right? Yeah. So you have a lot of information in digital form about the diseases that are prevailing in certain parts of the country and so on. But when you try to connect those two dots, you know, and then try to say, okay, let's take a look at a certain part of the country, let's take a look at what's going on with the water in terms of chemicals, and maybe in terms of microbiology and so on. And then if you want to try to make any correlations and then to see which diseases are prevailing in certain parts, then you get to a challenge, you know. I can say that from our perspective, public health is very interested in this kind of projects, but at the same time on the national level, the investments that go in this direction is very low, you know. It's still, most of the public institutions are focusing on their own problems, and we are really missing this, let's say, stronger cross-industry collaboration. I'm not saying that no one is doing anything about it. Yes, public health institutions are really doing such analysis and such assessments, but if you look at how this is being done, then you can see that they're not using the latest technology, they're not using the predictive analytics, and this is something where we believe there is a lot of space to do some improvements. So, for example, you can always look at and this is what's being done now, you know, but manually. You would use the historical data about environment quality, historical data about healthcare status, and then you would make some conclusions about what kind of pollution affects what kind of, or causes what kind of diseases. But if you look in the future, if you try to have some, let's say, climatological projections for the future, and then if you can see what will maybe happen with the environment in the future, then the healthcare system could also get the data and to understand, you know, what kind of burden they can expect in the future. Is there a certain kind of disease that we can expect to increase in certain parts of the country because of, I don't know, air quality or water quality that is being shifted and so on. So this is, when we're saying about the awareness, I think there's a lot of a lot of space that we can address there. And then I think that once we become aware of these issues, you know, how many, I don't know, if we talk about the air, then how many, you know, breathing issues you can have, or how many digestional issues you may have due to the water quality, then people will maybe start really doing something in a different way in their own backyard in the beginning, you know, because this is where, because the water that's going near, the groundwater that's going near your house, maybe in the end might be drinking water for some community down the stream, you know, to put it really lightly.
Okay. Maybe if we go back to what you were speaking before, the suggestions that businesses have tap water and not bottled water, what would you say is the experience maybe in Slovenian businesses or in Slovenian restaurants? Are Slovenian businesses going to tap water because supposedly Slovenian tap water is still very good, and are we getting rid of plastic bottles, or what would you say?
Can I just have one thought on the awareness issue which Professor Toman talked about? As representative of public drinking water public providers, I would say the people are aware that the tap water should be clean, healthy, and so on the tap. Further you go from the tap, the less awareness it is. You know, before the tap, it's the whole system monitoring. I don't know everything, and at the end is the water body. You know, and the same people who are using water from the tap are discharging these substances in the water bodies, which are coming back to the taps. And in Slovenia, you all know probably we have a right to water in the constitution. You know, the water should be free of charge if possible, but nobody is aware, or too low, awareness is too low about what system is needed to provide the health water on the tap. And the first step is, of course, to provide the health and clean water in the water bodies, not on the tap. About the companies you asked, I think the awareness about the using of tap water is rising. I was employed in the Ministry of Environment when Mr. Britzer, who just came in, I saw him, was the State Secretary. That was quite a few years ago. He ordered back then that no other water than the tap water should be used. And I think in the public institutions, this awareness is every year higher. Also, when we introduced this certificate for tap water in the restaurants, and so they are interested in it. I think also it can be a quite good story. You know, I don't know if some restaurant in some part of Slovenia, they have the local water source which has a story behind it, and it can be also very interesting for the guests and so on. So maybe that on that issue.
Thank you very much. Maybe for the continuation of the debate, it would be nice to have any comments or questions from the public. It might be in English or in Slovenian. Yeah.
Hello, coming from a Slovenian water agency, working in the Department for Water Rights. Maybe this will sound a bit silly to you, but the idea of a water right to me is just insane. Yeah, we do have a water right, but we do also have a duty to preserve the right that we have. So dealing with customers every day, my general impression is that everybody is afraid of losing water, but at the same time, they're prepared nothing to conserve it, right? So maybe a shift in the understanding of a water right is needed also in the legislative part of maybe in Slovenia. Just a quick thought about it. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good morning. Mitja Britzel from the Ministry for Environment. Still. Thank you for this discussion and the question. Water from the water tap, yes, but nobody wants to care from where the water is coming and to take some sort of, let's say, care or obligation even. Where is, let's say, this is for me very exciting situation, but this situation is real. It's a real situation where we are very much appreciating good quality of water from the tap, even healthy water. We are talking health ecology, but nobody when it's coming from the system. But who will do the job to take, as the colleague said, care in the water body, where happened the intake to the system? That is almost very difficult to address someone to be proper management. And now for all of us and for the panelists, because we do have the water companies here, representatives company and university, let's say knowledge, business, water business, who should and must, as it's by the way, everything described, prescribed in national laws and European directives. But it's very low implementation of those obligations on local level, on governmental level. This is the gap already to take serious and efficient actions to get, let's say, appropriate quality of the water bodies. And why is this happening? It's another question. Why we are so tolerant to that? We know that, but we do have even the system, but this system, it's very weak. Where is education for that, Mr. Toman? Education of, let's say, new generation and old generation to take care for so important and vital, let's say, essence for life, that nobody is just, you know, fancy toy to touch or to take from the tap, but forget all other things, or buy it in the bottle. Consumer society. Why not to think and to take responsibility on your backyard, on your local community? That's it. And of course, they are very weak, and such an population, such a very concrete person. I'm coming from ministry, lady from the Directorate for the Water. That's it. And the behavior of all, let's say, very real people are as it is, and they act as they act. Sorry, we do have system, we do have legislation, we do have institutions, even education. For education and implementation on the, let's say, government and local level. We do have even inspectorates. What is going wrong? Huh? Thank you.
May I?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. The political representative, as Mitja Britzel is, asking me what is necessary to do in relation to environment, health, policymakers, protection of our water bodies, and the only answer is we have European legislation, but still we have Slovenian society. So in Slovenia we are very special tribe. I am not sure if we are a nation, but we are a tribe in this, how to say, understanding. And we try to escape any legislation in the road, at home, in the society, in the company, and so on. And one of the most important thing for me is that we are in a typical syndrome named not in my backyard. But when the water comes to me, I'm asking what is going on in my neighbor backyard. That's the problem. And you mentioned the institutions. How is the name officially, but Direction for Water or something like, doesn't matter. What are they doing? What are Agency of Republic of Slovenia for Environment? What are they doing? They have monitoring, they have legislation in their hand, they have almost everything. Who has inspection? Who? And what kind of relation we have between different sectors? We have no, I told you yesterday, we have no relation between sectors. If I ask who is polluter, is agriculture or is local community as I don't know what. You can't got any answer. And if you mentioned education, how many academicians, how many professors, how many teachers, you know, to come to such open panel to say something? Because education is completely different in our mining what we have to do. We have to prepare students, we have to give them skills for, I don't know for what, for living, and so on. And education of society, they understand it's not our business. You know me, my understanding is completely different. But if we have such relation between policymakers, education, society, local, I don't know what, local and personal, and media, you forgot media. That's important. How could we work in this very, very complicated field? So we also need very open discussion. But we do not have discussion, we have debate, you know, we have fightings between different understanding. We have no discussion. Discussion is completely different compared to fighting. And we like to fight because we have legislation. So legislation is the base. But we can't use this legislation like some other society. Compare German and compare Slovenia. Yesterday I told, they have whole water bodies, chemically speaking or chemically looking, they have bad situation. In Slovenia we have only 25% bad situation. Is this true? No, it's not true. Because we are not using in some way the methodology which is important today for such information. That's the problem. So I'm not sure that the situation in Slovenia is much better than in Germany. Why? I'm not sure. Because of the hydrological richness of Slovenian system. I'm not sure. Because if again and again I'm talking about the manure. And who is responsible for the manure? And using such manure? Unprepared. So, toxic, polluted, and they used veterinary medicine, they used hormones, they used everything. So the way of life, not only our way of life, and the way of life how to produce everything, food, how to keep water good and have the best quality in the tap, is a result of our understanding of legislation. You forgot that we are almost the only country in the world that we have signed
in the constitution.
In the constitution level that the water is, I forgot what they...
human rights, I think.
Human rights, of course, human rights. Water is life. What kind of human rights? Water is life. So, do we need in the constitution level such sentence? We do not need. This is my opinion. I'm only maybe few of people who like to say such, because this is a political idea. It's not how to say. It's not normal for the country. No, we need legislation, and of course we need how to use this legislation and control. You have to control. unimportant if you are 5 years or 70 years. You have to control the people, and we have no control, or very low. Here we have, from, yeah, institution. Direct, no, what is the name? Agency. Okay. So she knows, maybe, together with all of us, what to do. This is my idea. Mitya, okay. Any other question, please?
Karlo wanted to add something.
If I can just add something, I've never been a big fan of politics and regulations. You know, I don't really think that. Yeah, we need it, of course. But in terms of changing people behavior and so on, you know, we have the rules and laws on traffic, and then still people drink and drive, people still go speeding and so on. We have rules and regulations about how you can use pesticides in agriculture, and then still, you know, in Croatia, the usual way they do it, you know, you have this plastic cup from yogurt, you know, this is measured for everything in agriculture, you know. And then if you still have a little bit left in the big bottle, then you will use this as well, because of what you're going to do with this, you know. So I don't think it's about regulation in the end. I think it's about changing the behavior of the people, and I don't believe that laws will change this. And this is the reason why we've really focused on this area in our water quality, water Q project. So what we'll do, we'll have a psychologist being part of the team, and we want to really focus on, you know, how we should communicate directly to the people and what groups of the people we should use or focus on when we want to change the behavior. So, for example, one of the activities that will be done, I mean, hopefully, is that we want to have a groups of children that will be taken to the national parks and then also to some of the groundwater, and they will be taken by the faculty of natural natural science and in Zagreb, yeah. So basically we'll be taking the students, and they will be able to take the sample of the water and, you know, to geolocate where they have taken this sample, and then send it to another institution for eDNA analysis, where then they will get the results. They will also have the access to some of the information about the biodiversity, and also why is it important to protect the water, you know, in your backyard. Because down the stream, as I said, it becomes drinking water. And then, you know, the whole, I'm not a psychologist, so it's really hard to explain, but the whole story is really to have targeted groups of people with targeted messages, and what we have learned is we need to involve them in those activities, you know. They need to have the hands-on experience, and then maybe afterwards to see this under the microscope and to really understand how the whole ecosystem works, you know, and to understand what we call the services of the water ecosystem, you know, because we just take it for granted, and then in the end, we use the water for tourism, for agriculture, drinking water, and so on. So once we do and especially in Croatia, where we have tourism, you know, as a really important part of our total GDP at the end of the year, and then also if you talk to the tourists, most of them are coming, you know, to Croatia because of the natural beauties. And then you have Plitvice Lakes, which is one of the most popular national parks. Last year, we had the big story about the water pollution within the national park because of the surrounding, you know, small communities and villages that didn't have adequate sewage system, you know. So if you look at the whole story like that, then at least for me, I think it's all about, you know, giving education, you know, and taking into and giving some activities to kids, to children, while they're still at school, and while we can still change the way they behave, you know. Because here in this, maybe the rules and regulations work up in the north, but here in the south of the Europe, you know, as they say, we have the rules so that you can break them, you know. Because people are lazy.
But
I think that this is the only thing.
Should that be more like in a formal educational level?
No, I don't think so, you know. Because at the faculty, as I see it, you know, you're gaining some knowledge that you will use in your work in the future. I think this is more of this should be something that you are teaching our kids at home, something just as you would teach them, you know, to say hi when they see older people, you know, and all of this, let's say, human things, you know, that you would do, yeah. So this is just what my opinion.
Okay. You wanted that, yeah.
Just one word maybe on education or awareness again. I think that's very important, and not only from the schooling system, but we all should be probably educated in some field, and we all should be educators in fields when we have knowledge or we know what it's about. I think we have some initiatives or contact with our companies, public providers, so they are trying to educate in schools children on their events in the local community, because I think at least in two fields. First, to protect the water sources, that we can have safe tap water on the end of the system, and that maybe also a child can educate their parents when they say they come from school, they know something, and they say, "Father, why are you buying bottled water, or why are you, I don't know, doing, why are you using herbicides here in the city when it's not needed," or something like that. And in the second sense, the public companies, we think that the people should be aware what the whole how the whole system operates. So they know they are not. I think that the public company doesn't come to the house only with the bill, but also with the information how the system operates. So.
Okay, thank you. You wanted to.
Thank you. I got, let's say, your view on what I asked, but first let's go. I tried to really put the finger on gaps. First, Mihael, I do have PhD from geography, working on hydrogeography more than 30 years on international agreements. I'm not politician. I'm civil servant. And my product, one of them is Sava River Basin Commission and all what it's going with. So please, I do not want to have, I worked for a political level in the independence of Slovenia and in the presidents of Slovenia. And as Iztok said, I throw away or forced to plastic bottles from the ministry in 1 year when I got the presidency of EU to manage in Slovenia. That's my, let's say, reference first. And the second, on this field, for me, it's very important that we do have institutions, legislation, and of course, knowledge. And even we do have money for that, for the monitoring, for inspection, whatever you call it. But efficiency is the problem of all this. Who is the member of institutions? We. And local, the mayor was there of Bled. I'm talking about those, let's say, low efficiency or low responsibility, if you want, to the water cycle, to the water resources, not water per se, but water resources in the river basin, very concrete river basin, because we are here on Bled, about Bled, let's say, lake water river basin, let's say, and water supply, and it's manageable. It's manageable when the responsibility is behind. And be very concrete. The quality of the Bled tap water on the table, it's endangered. The mayor, he himself said yesterday, but it's very simple managed problem if the institutions would work as it is appropriate, according with the law. It's one farmer upstream only. And it's not fair to bother that we should do something, of course, Yeah, but here in such cases, let's do the work. Mr. Mayor, the local water supply system, and the national institutions, if needed. And that's it. They are paid for that. This is what I want to say. Responsibility is missing. We can invent it and overregulate our systems with the new laws, with the new even constitutions, but implementation is weak, and responsibility for the implementation. And let's talk about responsibility of education, of the, let's say, governing sector, the government, let's say on the end, we are on our backyard in the family. Responsibility to our children. Very good, this is the chain. But let's do the job. And don't play with fancy words and fancy gathering to do something, but take responsibility on your place here. And this is my message. Sorry, that's it. We do have institutions, you name. Agency for water, agency for environment, ministry, local communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any comments on that?
Yes, I only want to add one more word. Starting with personal responsibility. As we talk at the beginning, personal responsibility. But what this means, that's the problem. When the personal responsibility starts. Few examples, you mentioned Lake Bled. You know, I'm sure that I got a project in 2012 to investigate what will be with one species, which could be a mussel, zebra mussel, you know, in the Lake Bled, coming from Austrian or, I don't know, Switzerland lake. Okay. After 6 years of preparing conclusions, what we have to do. Not me, but the person who is responsible first to read these conclusions and to act. Do we have any act? No. Only the drivers, not drivers, yes, have 2 or 3 excursions underwater and take that mussel. That's the only. So we have the same regime in the lake with boats, the same. We have the same regime with fishermen. We have everything the same, but in the conclusions you have about 10 conclusions what to do to protect this problem. This is one in relation to Lake Bled. The other, for instance, every year we try to educate. We already had a round table about using so-called boom effect. This is one of herbicide using in highway and in railway. We still use that, but we know that glyphosate, one of the main part of this herbicide, is in the list of really problematic chemical matter. It's a cancerogenic and mutagenic. But we still used 14 days, 1 month approximately before, we used this glyphosate in all Slovenian highway. So who will act? I don't know.
We know.
Okay, if you know, then we have to, not me.
But the institutions, yeah. We name institutions, we do have inspections, we do have monitoring, you even know for the quantities and the subject. Let's, if on the end of the day, we do know exactly, here is the police to call. It's criminal act if you know for such an degradation. No, this is not joke. That's.
I know it's not joke, but it's a reality. That's the problem.
And that's sorry. I'm a little bit fed up. Sorry to spoke that somebody should do something. No, existing institution must. That's why we are paying. I'm taxpayer. Sorry. Why? To go to church to pray that somebody should do something. No. It's civil society here, we are taxpayer, let's do it the job. On all levels. And that's it, all about.
Last year I called to ministry. I said yesterday. Ministry of Environment and Ministry for Agriculture about the manure in the littoral area of Lake Bohinj. What happened? You know, nothing. So,
this is newspaper, media, whatever, they have to answer. That's it. And this is what I suggest very much to all of you, because public society is the force, if they want to be.
Mitya, we are speaking the same language now, I'm sure. But Adrijan is guilty, because he is coming from media. So maybe he will help us.
That's why we are here.
Yeah.
Okay, we're running out of time. Maybe any last questions or comments? Yeah.
My name is Richard Miller. I'm from Slovak Environment Agency. I don't want to spoil this debate, but I would be interested in the certification of the drinking water at the restaurants that you have mentioned. Maybe if you can explain us how it works and what are the conditions. And I came a bit late. Maybe you did it in the beginning, but this would be really interesting to hear. Thanks.
Well, you're asking exactly for the restaurants, or well, we have no restaurant yet applied for that. We have some questions, but the system is the same for all the companies, profit or non-profit. So they sign the commitment that they will serve only tap water in their companies, events or something like that, and they become a certificate for that, so they can promote their behavior, which is how should I say, which is socially responsible or something like that. So it is quite simple. We have some commitments, some exceptions, because I don't know, for some presidents or so, you should not serve open water. But in the name of that, it's a moral obligation, more or less.
If I can just comment something or actually ask, I'm coming from a multinational company, and I'm also within the company pushing water quality projects and so on. And I've also been trying, whenever we had meetings for the project, to ask the catering company, which is actually serving the food, in the restaurant, and they're also bringing the coffees and so on, to bring this kind of the bottle, and the water, because if we have a project where we want to promote, not using plastics and so on, and it's really hard, because this actually, first of all, the catering company wants to make profits. This is just cost for them. It's not the profit. So they want to sell the bottled water, and then the waiters. It's easier for them to just take the cold water from the fridge. So for me, it's really interesting. How have you managed, to really motivate those companies to sign this act? And are those big companies? How is this working? Because I think it's a great thing.
Well, the project or initiative had begun this year, so we have now, I think, 34 receivers of the certificates. There are some our public providers which are doing the thing already, also the both ministries, as I mentioned, and some companies. We have already the applications for from some bigger companies already, from I don't know, Deichmann I have, and A Banka in Slovenia are interested in that certificate. We also spoke with some restaurants which are maybe more aware of this thing, and they're very interesting. They are very interesting also helping to promote that. So I think the initiative will rise, and I hope in, I don't know, as soon as possible that it will be nationally.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have to put a full stop here to this debate. Thank you very much to all the panelists for your comments, everybody for listening. And I think that the follow-up to this debate will be interesting. Next debate, which is responsible towards water, with nominees this year. So I think we're going to change and continue in 2-3 minutes, right? 5 minutes.